There's a direct relationship between having the businesses and being in prison. Go find see how many Asians you can find in American prisoners. They ain't gonna be in there. But 51% of your prisoners will be black because blacks don't have any businesses and industries. There's a direct link. Blacks won't practice group economics. Blacks won't practice group politics. If you don't practice, you're setting yourselves up. I told that 5-story building, you're setting yourself to get wiped out. Understand the nature of race, which is economics. If you build the first floor, it's economic. Build your businesses and your industries. Control business and industry, and put that pulls in your money, and hold that money, and practice group economics with it. Arab and Asian money bounces 12 to 13 times what it leaves. Jewish money bounces 18 times. Black folk got to learn how to practice group economics. Black Americans spend every penny they get outside their own community. Then you take the money and the wealth that you get from that first floor and go to the second floor. The second floor is politics. You then take that money on the first floor and you control your politics. Black folk must quit allowing people to tell them to go out and vote. Vote for what? Nobody's going to do anything for black folk in politics. Politics is controlled by money, major corporations who got the money. That's what controls politics. If you have no money, you have no say-so, you have no benefits coming. So you take your money and you control, and you take your money from the first floor, you buy every politician on the second floor. And any politician you can't buy, you rent or lease them to get what you need. Then once you get the second floor under control with the politician, with your money, then you go to the third floor. The third floor then is the police department and the court systems. You take your money from the first floor and your politics on the second floor, and you control the court system and the police departments. Then the fourth floor then is media. You then take the money that you generate off the first floor from business and industries, and you go after radio stations, TV stations, newspapers, and cable systems, so that you can now inform and communicate with your own people. Right now, black folk own and control less than 35 thousandths of 1% of the media in the United States. Out of 12,000 radio stations, black folk own about 75, 80. That's all. You own no cable systems. You don't have a daily newspaper. You have nothing of importance. You got about one black TV station. So you can't communicate with your people, you can't inform your people, you can't do anything. You can have Rush Limbaugh and all the rest of the guys talking about racism all day long and bad mouthing you, and O'Reilly's. They can call black folk all kind of names all day long. What are you gonna do? You can't respond. You can't communicate with your own people because you don't have an economic base. 51% of all the prisoners in the United States are black people. You only make up 12% of the population. That's no accident. It's because you don't control the economics and the politics. And they're gonna go after the weakest people they can get their hands on to incarcerate. That's the black folk. And what are you gonna do in response to it when they over incarcerate you? You're gonna go out and have a march, a demonstration. We're gonna march. March for what? Who cares? Marching, they never changed anything. First came out of slavery, blacks were relatively successful because they understood the importance of one thing, and that was to learn how to own and to control, get resources, because that was the whole purpose of slavery. Slavery was basically to maldistribute almost 100% of all this nation's wealth, resource, privileges, and controls of all levels of government into the hands of the dominant white society. And it was very effective. It did an excellent job. And slavery came into existence in the 1500s. It had a very specific purpose. Slavery was an economic issue, not a social issue. And so black folk learned that even as slaves, they might not have been well educated, but they weren't stupid. They figured out that he who owns and controls has the power. And so when slavery ended in the 1860s, about 1866, at that point in time, they learned something else from the radical Republicans who came out and said that black people in America can only be one or two things. Either you're going to be slaves or you're going to be free. To be free, you must minimally, these blacks must minimally, 5 million, almost 5 million blacks must minimally have 40 acres, a mule, and $100 given to them coming out of slavery if they're going to play this game. Because at that time in slavery, black folk were the primary generators of wealth on the earth. This country had invested over $8 billion just into slavery. That was more money than all the businesses and all levels of government put together. And black folk as slaves, they knew the importance of wealth and owning and controlling it. And they wanted that 40 acres and a mule and $100. And Congressman Thaddeus Stevens, Charles Sumner, and Benjamin said that on the floor of the United States Congress in the 1865 Civil Rights Law. Give black folk 40 acres, a mule, and $100. And Andrew Johnson came when he became the president after Lincoln's assassination. He killed the bill. They came back again in 1866 again and said black folk have to have resources to be able to compete. And then later on they converted that to the 14th Amendment in 1868. But in the meantime, black folk left slavery, not owning, controlling anything. Black folk left slavery after 400 or 500 years, penniless, poor, disorganized, no religion, no clothes, no food, no animals, no home, no land, no tools, no weapons, nothing. And white folks told them, go out there and compete. And unfortunately, our leadership didn't understand that. You cannot compete not owning anything. But a few blacks got the word. They said, what we have to do is try to get some of that land at 40 acres and a mule. Slavery was affirmative action. Slavery was affirmative action. Jim Crow segregation was affirmative action. It was rewarding those people who had certain kind of skin complexion. That's what it was for. Affirmative action was written to be corrective action. C-O-R-R-E-C-T-I-V-E, corrective. Corrective action for what? For something that the government has consistently done to impede, to exploit, to degrade, and to degenerate a specific group of people. That's what it was written for. It had nothing to do with gender, handicap, senior citizens, gays, midgets, humpbacks, just black people. That's the only people the government had systematically at all levels, from the state, county, and federal level, had gone out of their way to pass laws, slave codes, and see, blacks couldn't get out of slavery because of the federal government.
The average black business can't even get the capital to present itself to the black population that the other people can get the capital to do. Now, one would ask the question, how can all these poor immigrants come to this country and have all this capital? If they had that capital, why did they leave home? And if they didn't have the capital when they left home, how are they getting this capital here when they have no credit records and they have no paper trail and they have not? So who's capitalizing them? And I think if we begin to look at that question, we begin to get to the bottom of what's going on in the black community.
See, and you cannot, it's impossible in theory and practice to acquire wealth and power or to be economically competitive without a community. And right now in America, black folk do not have not one single solitary community in America. You cannot prosper, you cannot compete. It's going to be very difficult for black folk even to survive under the present circumstances because they don't have communities. All black folk got are neighborhoods. A neighborhood is like a bucket with a hole in it. A neighborhood is where you eat and sleep. A community is where you store your values, your history, your wealth, your power, your resources, your jobs, your tax base. Most of these neighborhoods have gotten so bad, so crime-ridden and run down and so dysfunctional that the neighbor has moved and all you got left is a hood. There's nothing left in them. We have a ranking order of acceptability in our society based on skin color, going white, yellow, brown, black. It's in a descending color order, going from the whitest to the darkest. And the wealth is also distributed along the same lines. The whitest at the top got the wealth, power, and resources going down. It trickles down, all the way down. The power and resources go, as they go up and down. The further you go away from the white, the thinner it becomes, the weaker it becomes. And black folk are not that silly. They can say, consequently, if I want something, I'm gonna try to identify with anything that's close to white as possible. And that's why you come up with this saying all the time about white ice is colder than black ice. They want to identify with it. But they never understand that rather than identifying with it, why don't you go acquire your own? Then your black ice will be just as cold as white ice. Black folk on an aggregated national disposable basis of collected income, they might be the 9th richest nation on earth. Right now, if I take all the black folks' money annually and aggregate it, they might be they're richer than maybe Sweden, Canada, India, Pakistan, whole bunch of countries, Thailand, fourth most all put together. But the difference is, what I keep trying to tell blacks, it doesn't make any difference because it's not aggregated. You aggregate something, you strengthen exponentially the power of it by multiplying the multiplying factor, by putting them together and then piling it up, making it stronger. But unfortunately, we are the only people that don't want that to occur. Because you know why? Because traditionally, whites saw black folk aggregate as being a negative, and we see everything through the eyes of whites. Typically, anytime anything that exceeds more than 6% of something that's black, that whites are in charge of it, and you get more than 6%, that sets off an alarm in the white society. If right now, if I move into a neighborhood and I'm the only black, whites will accept the one black or the two blacks. But the minute you start getting up further than that, they go on alert. So by the time you hit 6, you know what happened then? They started putting their houses up for sale. If I go in an organization, I got one black in that organization, and it's all white organization, they'll accept the one black or two blacks. But the more blacks you come in, trying to integrate, that becomes a threat to the dominant society. and they'll either move out of that organization, move out of that neighborhood, or even go to school and take their kids out of school. And where are they going to move? They're not going to move to a more integrated society. They're going to move back with their own people. When a white person takes his kid out of a school, out of an integrated school, he's not going to go and try to find another integrated school. He's going to take his kid to a segregated academy, a charter school, or an all-white suburb.